Luke 14. Luke 14, verse 16. Jesus replied, "A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, 'Come, for everything is now ready.'" Keep moving on. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, "I've just bought a field and I must go to see it. Please excuse me." So a bunch of excuses. Let's jump down to verse 23. Then the master told the servant, "Go out to the roads and country lanes and compel them to come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet." Yeah. So why would I want to begin with this scripture? That is when I'm away, when I was in Macau, as I was studying through Joseph. That's what we are going to study out today. I reflect on myself, and plus, and I just want to preach a message that I think the church needs to hear as well. It's about, I still feel like the room is a bit empty today. We have way more space than we have right now, and plus we're looking for a new venue which will be even bigger. And we want to fill up the rooms that we have. So today's lesson is basically, it's something that, including myself, that we're going to navigate through how should we equip ourselves to be more effective in evangelism. And also for the non-Christians, it's more for you to understand that what kind of like message that you want to show the world about who you are as well. So today, I've sent out the lesson already to the members of the church, and I just want to go extra mile, which I've done handwrittenly. I've handwritten the Chinese translation there. Because we are just more Chinese speakers coming, so I think it's necessary that we need that. So let's begin with Isaiah chapter 52, verse 7. "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who say to Zion, your God reigns." Today's title is called Joseph, Prepared to Share. Throughout the history, God prepares men and women to share about what He has done for them. Joseph was a classic example that how God prepares everyone through the trials of poverty, abomination, betrayal, falsely accusation, and seemingly endless toil, service, and slavery under harsh leadership, and even more than that. So when we're in those moments, it may seem like we're in some insurmountable situation of never-ending challenges. But in the end, we find that God all along was trying to mold us in His way.
That's true. Come on, preach.
Everyone has opinions about God and life, regardless of belief there's a God or not. That's why we often say life is unfair. It is hard. We complain. That's why people need to hear about the message, the gospel. That is why us, as Christians, need to bring the good news in our lives to the world. It would be a shame for people to say that I'm tired, but yet not knowing God is behind everything, that He's watching and hoping we will see every challenges as a chance. Every obstacle is an opportunity, and every trial as a testimony of triumph. For example, when we went to Macau, me and my wife, last week, we went to visit my cousin, two cousins, but we mainly spent time with the younger one, which is only a few minutes apart. They're twins. Yeah, they're in Macau, and it was a pure joy to be reconnected with them, because I haven't seen them more than 10 years. And back then, when I was a kid, we were like brothers. Sadly, because of life happens, and I've changed, and they have moved, so we were just being really far apart. But now it was a good opportunity. I could actually go visit him. And for this reunion that we had, it was so amazing that for
about 4 days we spent together, that I was being able to just share a lot about what happened in my life, because he was amazed at how much I've changed about me, and also I got an amazing wife with me. And like the first thing he mentioned is like, where did you get this wife? He's married. He's not like saying his wife is worse than my wife, but like he was just amazed. So he began to ask a lot, share a lot about his life. So right now he's struggling with a relationship with his boss. And then Macau is so small that he wants to change a job, but like, but at the same time he realized, oh yeah, actually no matter where I go, it's the same. We began to talk about like how I handle difficult relationships. So I started to share about the sermons that we preach and what I do, and I sent him a lesson from Joe. It's called dealing with difficult people, and then he's starting to get so interested, and so like, wow, I never knew the Bible can be used in such a way to deal with life issues. And there, like, and that was, I think that was the most amazing experience that I've ever had with my family. That was being able to, like, right there, we were spending time having fun with them, and they're willing to dive into the gospel. So please pray for them to come for Women's Day.
Let's go.
Yes. And getting back to Joseph, we can find about stories about him in Genesis from chapters 30 to 50. 20 chapters about Joseph. Just brief introduction. His parents were Jacob and Rachel. He had 11 brothers and 1 sister. He lived in the land throughout his entire life. He lived in the area of Canaan and Egypt. He had a very colorful life. He starting being a shepherd. As all of a sudden he became a slave. A slave later he went into prison as a convict. And then he was raised to become a ruler, a second only to the mighty Pharaoh. It's like the up and down, like that's called roller coaster life. Yet in order to get to this point in his life, God had to do a few things for him. God gave him a vision for his life, and that showing him that he can do great things. Molded his character through humbling, and then teaching him about leadership skills through being treated unfairly. And God also taught him about compassion, kindness, and love by facing false accusation. And at last, God taught him to be spiritual by taking all the freedom away from him. All the privileges, all the entitlement away from him. And today, there are 7.5 million souls in Hong Kong waiting to hear that their life can be changed by God today. Are you that hero today? We are all some sort of hero of something, some sort of message. But are you spreading lies to the world? Or are you spreading the truth? The truth that changed your very life today, here. Point number 1, to get prepared to share our faith, we must prepare to change our character.
Let's go.
So in the beginning, Joseph was self-righteous and prideful. Beginning in Genesis chapter 37, second half of verse 2 to 11. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And he brought their father a bad report about him. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. So Israel is also another name of Jacob. Because he had been born to him in his old age. And he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream. And when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of corn out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright. While your sheaves gathered around mine and bow down to it, his brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he said. That he had another dream. and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father, as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is the dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually will come and bow down to you on the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. So right here we find that Joseph was someone actually being more endured by his love, by his father, comparing with his other brothers. And this type of treatment normally, by the way, how you raise a kid like that, we're going to create lots of brats, right? They're being super entitled, ungrateful. Hence why the Bible states, later on in the Bible, actually it's been talking throughout the Bible that God shows no favoritism. We find that although his brothers hated him, it didn't seem to change his mind to shut up at all. He just kept talking about bragging about his wonderful dream about himself. He was insensitive, out of touch with how hurtful he has become with his family. He was totally deceived by his heart. Obadiah chapter 1 verse 3, the pride of your heart has deceived you. You who live in the clefts of the rocks and make your home on the heights. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? Yet, due to God's sovereignty, lucky that we have that, God still gave him the dreams. Maybe perhaps God was hoping that his brother's hatred, the hatred from his brothers and their jealousy, the rebukes from his father, may humble him. So for example, when I was in Germany, I was a teaching assistant. There was a girl, I was in a class that we just did an exam and the score was being released. And there was like a girl that she just looks upset. And I thought I knew what I was doing. I was like trying to counsel her, asking what was going on. I just kept talking and talking and talking. I didn't even allow her to speak. I thought I got it, And she just started crying. I was like, dang, what have I done? I was so embarrassed. And I got rebuked by the teacher. So, you see, when discipline is not enough, we get punished by our sins. But not because of our sinful nature itself, but because of the outright sins that we just being ignorant about what we do. In Genesis chapter 37, 17 to 28. So Joseph went out to his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in a distance. And before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Here comes the dreamer. They said to each other, come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say to the ferocious animal, devour him. Then we will say what comes of his dreams. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, he said. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ordinary robe he was wearing. And they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh. I don't know what that is. And they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay a hand on him. After all, he's our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brother pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. So this is the same thing that the world, in the world today, that what we would do to each other. You have a dream and they try to strip your confidence away from what you want to do, from your words. Make it seem like your dream was simply empty wishes. And that you'll always be a slave to yourself. Right here we find that Joseph is now on his way to check on his brothers and bring a report back to his dad. His brothers saw him from a distance and already planned for his downfall. So out of jealousy, his brothers stripped him naked from his royal clothes, throw him into an empty cistern, and just sold him as a slave. In Genesis chapter 39, verse 1, now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of the Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. Well, discipline doesn't work. God is sovereign. So that's why when we already gave enough advice, if that person still doesn't listen to you, please pray for them. And you gotta. This shows you actually believe there's a God, because God will strip us naked and humble us until our character is changed. He will use the sin of others to strip you and humble you, so that you will change your character. See that as a grace. So the moment when I was being stripped, at the age of 21, I was being stripped away from my family's wealth. I was always been an entitled brat. I grew up from a wealthy family. Whenever I'm out of money, I can always ask for it from my family. And whenever I go there, I don't have to worry. I always have my dad's credit card with me. But at the age of 21, when I remember that was the time I was in Germany. And at that time, I think I have tasted the first downfall of my life. And there was a time that my girlfriend cheated on me at that time, 3 times. And I was away from that, and that relationship just ended there. And she was even trying to ask me for money. So I had my view about humanity was just like very twisted at that time. And but at the same time, that I started to think that what do I really, now that these things are gone, and what I have, I do still have money, but I feel very empty. Walking on the streets every single day, getting back from work to my home. And I was so depressed, and I made a decision at 21 that was, I cut off from my dad's credit card. I'm never asking for a single cent other than our wedding. And that's, I starting to write CVs. I remove everything that the positions that I obtained through relationships, or from the relationship that I got it from my parents. I wiped them off. I put only the things that I've got it with my bare hands, and starting to look for some humble jobs. At age 23, I was stripped from vanity. I have been a person that I always describing myself as something that I'm not. That I was trying to pretend somebody that I'm not. And that was very painful. That made me to be a liar. First of all, I was lying to myself. And which, when I really got into some situation that we need to deal with issues with my character, I can't solve things with money anymore. I realized that just how vague my life is. So I learned to be honest at the age of 23. And at age 27, that was after my baptism, decided to be a Christian. So God has led me all the way to here. So, but even at 27, just last year, I was stripped from the vine. Jesus said He's the vine. For the whole entire year 2024, at least before August, my life was so unfruitful. When I was leading, at that time already starting leading a full-time ministry, but I felt like every single day my university that I was leading is like a desert, especially the men's ministry at least. It's like I was sitting in the wilderness. Every single man I studied, 10 to 20 men I studied in a week, just blocked me, or like I want to study the Bible anymore, and I just didn't know what to do anymore. That happened for 8 months. And meanwhile facing rebukes, and pressure from my disciple. So you see, like God, time and time after again, regardless of you being a disciple or not, He will just strip you naked until you change. So how about your stories today? What do you have to tell to the world? Especially as Christians. And for non-Christians, if you have nothing to tell, join the ranks. God will give you stories to tell. So when Joseph was being beaten, battered, and bruised, well, surely this is the end, right? Wrong. Chapter 39, 11 to 21. One day he went to the house to attend to his duties, and more of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me." But I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his clothes beside me and went out of the house. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him this story, that Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison. False accusation happened right here. The place where the king's prisoner were confined, but while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him though. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warder. So beforehand, things seemingly like they're getting better and better for Joseph. The Bible says God was with him and he has success in his workplace, and now he was being promoted basically. And then all of a sudden his life turned upside down once again. As we see above, more unrighteousness and more unfair circumstances happen to him. God uses the unrighteous people and unfairness of life to teach us many, many things. So these are the things that I gathered from reading this passage. So God will teach us that nothing is certain. Even when we feel like at least something is there for sure, but the only thing certain, that is God's love and forgiveness, and which is the basic theme of God's love for us. His faithfulness, which makes everyone seem so fickle, so like not reliable, and which produces our faith to rely on Him. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 9, "Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead." Sadly, most people, including disciples, we have misused these opportunities. These opportunities to allow things to, and instead we use all these opportunities to increase in our bitterness against other people and God. So just like, it just feels like sprinkling salt on our wounds. And we blame God like He's doing that. We see it as God trying to rub salt on the injury. So we add salt on others' injuries too. But they're supposed to make us become better, to become more flavorful. For example, one incident happened in Auckland, in a retreat in Auckland. That was Scotty charged me with multiple tasks, and I was responsible to bring some games equipment, and I forgot. And which on the same day I had to rush back to the city, which is about like 30 minutes drive away if no traffic, and to bring the equipment. And I was very careless, and I did not really like hosting games. That was my heart. So when I brought things back, and he said, these are not the things we need to bring. And he sent me back again. And guess what? I was bitter. You know? and then he's not going to pay for my fuel.
Dang, bro.
And fuel in Auckland, it's second to Hong Kong. Yeah. But with the bitterness on my way, I got the right things on my way back. But I had to fix my heart.
Yeah.
After I realized, no, I got to get back with I learned a lesson. I thank Scotty for that. Thank God teaching me this lesson. I'm going to host the best game as I could have done. So Joseph told the cupbearer and the baker interpreted their dreams basically. And all he asked for is please say a few good things about me in front of Pharaoh. But in chapter 40, verse 23, the chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So God is never done with you until he says he's done with you. Until he's done making you great. Right, so working with God, all you need is two things, faith and humility. So every time when we say that we are done with ourselves, we're basically being faithless and showing utter contempt and arrogance. Today, are you done with God? Or are you done with your own life? Are you done with being lukewarm? Pretending like you are doing well rather than looking at the facts of where you actually at. Pretending that somehow you have improved, but really you are still holding back. And have we all gotten our towels yet? That Matthew challenged us to get. It's very cheap in Decathlon. You get really good quality towels, 2 for $58. That means that's how we got 2 right there. And for example, Lee J. Right? Why is he so fruitful, this guy? And then he making so many miracles happen. Because God is with him. How does he make it happen? Because he spends hours of quiet time every single day. Hours of prayers. And in Auckland, I saw him hanging up Scotty's core when he was praying to God or reading the Bible. He's like, no one is interrupting my quiet time with God. My time was spending time with God. I need my focus. When nobody could find him, we will always make some guessings, right? But the guessing will always be he was either in a Bible study, talking to someone, sharing his faith, or he's praying. And that's why he can make so many people feel so special. Whenever you meet with him, he makes you feel like you feel so good about yourself around him. That's why Bill Su, after I tried to study the Bible with him, it didn't really work, but it worked through his relationship with Lee J. Of course, we have to correct him on you can't get baptized because you love Lee J. Kevin O'Hara. He's a white dude, Scottish, in Auckland. He came for the meetup group. That night he came to my Bible talk, and he was making a decision on that night. He was looking at meetup. There's one group, it was about clubbing, partying. Another group is Bible talk. And then he was like, it's time to make a difference in my life. So I chose the Bible talk. And he became, after he got baptized, he became fruitful just within a few months with Philip. And he continues being a proud Scottish, practicing his, bagpipe. Every single push service in Auckland. Even in our conference. And he learned to be well-groomed. Learned how to cut off his addiction with the spicy salt, lao gamma, and starting dating, pure dating. He became a song leader, although his singing is very questionable, but his fire is right there. And then he successfully got into social work before graduating. That's a decision that he made for God. Preaching the message that how much has changed for his life. And just because of time, I will not share about myself. Sorry about that. And so what are your stories to tell the world about overcoming hardships with God?
Let's go.
Point number 2,
Yeah.
to be prepared to share your faith, prepare to change your life.
That's true.
All in all, God did allow all this happen to change Joseph's character in order for his life to change. Genesis chapter 41, verse 39 to 52. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there's no one so discerning and wise as you. So shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. And only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He made him ride in a chariot as his second in command. And people shouted before him, "Make way!" Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift hand or food in all Egypt."
Wow.
Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zephaniah, and gave him as Nav, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, to be his wife. See, I'm speaking Egyptians, right? And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out for Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 days of abundance in Egypt and stored in the cities. In each city, he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored by huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Beyond the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph by Asnath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "This is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." Manasseh, so it means forgotten. The second son he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of suffering." And that name means fruitful.
Come on.
So, once again, Joseph's life, the table has finally turned for good this time. For 13 years of slavery, 13 years of tragedy, let's see what God has really changed about him. He became discerning and wise. He became able to be in charge of Pharaoh's palace. From a slave to be the second in command of an empire. All people would submit to him. He got married. He managed to travel in the whole Egypt. And many people some people still have not traveled much in Hong Kong. Just been bounded by work and all this toil in their life. His work produced lots of food and all people for the people near and far from him. He had got 2 kids. So we gotta stop anticipating comfortable life. Like that I just want to have an easy life. This is not a good message. It's a horrible message. Just like saying that, recently those ads saying that invest into copy the trading profile and just sit back and relax. That's the biggest lie. But being comfortable, it also means doing the things your way. Even you try to live as hard as you can, but it is your way because you feel comfortable with it. As is being said, hard times create strong man creates good times. Good times creates weak man, and weak man creates hard times. It has been a cycle of history. You can only have a great life through hardships. Romans 5. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope, and hope does not put us to shame. Because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Let's jump down to the end. Just some practicals here. Speaking of like going through hardships, we have no idea what real hardship is. When we look across the mission field in all the churches, there's a guy called Jean-Bernard Colin in Haiti. He was leading a church. He was leading the area, the capital area, who has gunfire, gunshots every single day across the street. And every single day, his job, he has to take some kids because he is also responsible for the Mercy Project over there. He has to take these kids to the Mercy School, crossing a crossing that constantly have shots flying across. And that's the only crossing that's available. Every single day, he's just praying, walking across the crossing with the kids and say, please God help me, save us, protect us. So to change your life, you must first change your character. Without changing our character, we will have no focus of what to live for every single day. Then we will have no stories to inspire people about God. First, we've got to be ruthlessly honest with ourselves. As a disciple, what is something that you need to change? You need to do to get to the next level. I appreciate Scotty. Every single time, he's always on the phone with Joe, asking for advice. And whenever Joe calls him, he picks up and just, when Joe just gives instructions, he does it immediately. When I'm saying immediately, it means immediately. And every single time, same expectation for us. He has. And that's how I was being trained with. And sometimes I just realized that recently I've just been lacking of that. And I want to lift up Alfred as well. He's always sending me with the script of his short talks, the Bible talk he just led this Friday. He always asks for advice. And second, we got to start a routine, a discipline routine. Build discipline in your life. The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine, what you do every single day. A fixed schedule. I want to lift up Candace. She wants to learn some life skill, like learn swimming. It's seeming like like swimming. I know from birth, but that for someone that doesn't know what to do something to spend time to master that. That's not just about learning a skill. It's changing a character. It pushes her to get up early, 5 a.m. in the morning. That showing that to herself, that she's been telling people, you can do way more in your life in a day. Lay down your pride. Use your time to focus on the right things that lead you to your goals. If you're not doing the right things, you're going away from your goals, for sure. There are no neutral zones. So stop just flipping your day around and just like saying, I just follow the flow. I'm a chill guy. The Holy Spirit guides me. I feel God. I feel God is pointing me to there. Add into your routine, reading books, listening to podcasts, spiritual books, read books about leadership and character building. Fuel yourself. Careful with what you eat. Fix your diet. Some of your diet is horrible.
Yes!
Really? And what you wear. Not just by coming to church, but every single day. What you wear reflects who you are. Of how much you value about your life. And when people see you wearing those lai sifu, what do you call it? Those gangster pants, with hoodie, flip flops. And it's like, disciple of Jesus. Well, when Jesus looked down, man, don't call yourself a Christian, please. Don't. So, in conclusion, prepare to share. Point number 1, prepare to change your character. God will change your character when you are willing, when you are humble, when you're being faithful and willing to be attractive to people. Being a man or woman of God is simply about attracting people to God. Only being changing your character, you can change your life. Point number 2, prepare to change your life. When you change your life, you got stories to tell about what God has done and what He can do. I'm not saying that only by having your whole life change around right now, so then only you can share your faith. But I'm saying that this is an ongoing process of a disciple lifestyle, so your evangelism can be effective. So you will not get discouraged by your like, are you interested in Bible? No, okay, next one. And then it's like, oh, evangelism doesn't work. There's no God. So the challenge is get someone to tell you the truth where you are at. Someone can tell you the truth, right? Not someone who please you. And just one last example, just like a date night. And we practice that every single Saturday night as Christians. The best day ever is always a planned one. And this is how we get prepared to share our faith. To God be all the glory.
Come on.